I stood at the door of Mark's office, clutching the purchase agreement I had just obtained from the property management office. The contract clearly stated the buyer, Mark Anderson. The address, a 302 Emerald Bay Villas. I had seen this house before, just last month. Mark's assistant, Emily, had posted a photo of it on social media with the caption, "Dream Home." At the time, I had foolishly liked the post. "MS. Sarah, Mr. Anderson is in a meeting. Do you want to go in?" The receptionist asked me cautiously. I shook my head and turned to leave. Back in my car, I flipped through the contract again. For $0.5 million. Paid in full. When did Mark have that much cash? We were about to get married. Why didn't he tell me about buying a house? My phone rang. It was Mark. "Sarah, I have to entertain a client tonight. You go home first." "Which client?" "You know, that investor. It's important. So I might be back late." I looked at the contract in my hand. "Okay, go ahead." After hanging up, I drove straight to Emerald Bay. The villa area was quiet. Unit A302 was right by the lake, decorated warmly. Through the window, I saw that the furniture inside was all in the minimalist style Emily liked. I sat in the car for 2 hours. I didn't wait for Mark, but I did see Emily arrive. She was carrying shopping bags and skillfully opened the door with a key. Hanging from that key was a small rabbit charm, identical to the one she used at the office. My heart went completely cold. At 11 o'clock that night, Mark returned home. I was sitting in the living room waiting for him, the purchase agreement sitting on the coffee table. "Sarah, why aren't you asleep yet?" He looked exhausted, his tie hanging loosely around his neck. "What is this?" I pointed at the contract. Mark froze for a moment, walked over, picked up the contract, and looked at it. "Where did you get this?" "Is that the point?" "The point is, why didn't you tell me you bought a house?" He sat down opposite me, rubbing his temples. "Sarah, this house is for investment. I wanted to give you a surprise." "Investment?" I sneered. "Emily used a key to open the door and go in this afternoon. Is she part of the investment too?" Mark's face changed. "You followed us." "Followed?" "Mark, that house was bought with our joint assets. Is there a problem with me going to see it?" "Our joint assets. 3 years ago, we started a business together. I invested $5 million, and he invested $1 million. Now the company was valued at $300 million. I owned 60 of the shares, and he owned 40. Logically speaking, out of that $4.5 million house, nearly $3 million belonged to me." "Sarah, listen to me. Emily was just helping me look after the house. It really is for investment." "Explain what?" "Explain why you gave her a key. Explain why you spent over $4 million without telling me. Or explain why that house is decorated like it's her home." Mark fell silent. I stood up. "I'm tired. Let's end this conversation for today." "Sarah." He grabbed my hand. "We're getting married soon. Don't let your imagination run wild." I shook off his hand. "I'm not imagining things. I just want the truth." Back in the bedroom, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. I thought of the panic in Mark's eyes, remembered Emily skillfully unlocking the door to that home, and recalled her caption, "Dream Home." None of this was a coincidence. I took out my phone and sent a message to a private investigator. "Jack, help me check Mark's whereabouts for the past 3 months." Jack replied quickly, "MS. Sarah, how detailed do you need it?" "The more detailed, the better." After doing this, I actually felt calmer. Some things just need to be clarified before I can sleep. The next morning, Mark got up very early. I heard him busy in the kitchen. Usually, the housekeeper made breakfast, but she was off today. After washing up, I went downstairs. On the dining table were the pancakes and coffee I liked. "Sarah, I was wrong yesterday. I should have discussed it with you beforehand." Mark apologized proactively. I nodded and sat down to eat. "I'll list that house for sale this afternoon." I looked up at him. "Why sell it? Didn't you say it was an investment? Since you don't like it, forget it." This answer made me even more certain that the house was definitely not an investment. After breakfast, we went to work together. In the elevator, Mark asked me, "Sarah, shall we go look at wedding dresses this weekend?" "Okay," I answered indifferently. The elevator reached the underground garage, and we drove our separate cars to the company. In the car, I thought about the days when we started the business 3 years ago. At that time, Mark only had eyes for the business and me. He would stay up all night for a project and prepare surprises for my birthday. When did he start to change? Was it when Emily joined the company? Emily, 23 years old, a graduate of a prestigious university, innocent looking, from an average background. Within half a year of joining the company, she was promoted from a regular employee to Mark's assistant. At first, I didn't care. After all, the company needed talent. But later, I noticed Mark's attention to her went beyond a normal boss-subordinate relationship. For example, when she took sick leave, Mark would personally deliver medicine to her. When she worked late, Mark would drive her home. At company dinners, Mark always sat next to her. I mentioned it a few times, but Mark always said I was overthinking, that Emily was young and he was just looking out for her. Thinking about it now, this looking out turned out to be of a very different nature. During lunch, I received a call from Jack. MS. Sarah, I've compiled the information you wanted. Is it convenient to meet and talk? Yes. The usual place. The usual place was a very private coffee shop where Jack and I often met. As the company's legal consultant, I sometimes needed his help with investigations. Jack was a reliable man in his 40s. He handed me a file folder. MS. Sarah, the records for the past 3 months are all in here. I opened the folder. Inside were photos, time logs, and spending lists. First photo, Mark and Emily eating at a high-end restaurant, sitting very close together. Second photo, them entering the Emerald Bay Villa together. Third photo, Mark driving Emily home, staying downstairs at her apartment for an hour. The time logs showed that in the past 3 months, Mark went out alone with Emily 3 to 4 times a week. The spending list was even more shocking. A Chanel bag, $12,000. A Tiffany necklace, $8,000. An Hermes scarf, $3,000. Plus various cosmetics, clothes, and shoes. Total spending, $56,000. During the same period as these expenses, Mark told me cash flow was tight and asked me to transfer $30,000 from my personal account to the company. I did transfer it, without any suspicion. MS. Sarah, there's one more thing. Jack lowered his voice. Yesterday, I followed them to Emerald Bay. They stayed inside for 3 hours. 3 hours. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Thank you, Jack. MS. Sarah, do you need me to keep tracking them? No need. This is enough. Back at the company, I sat in my office, staring blankly at the photos on my desk. In the photos, Mark was smiling gently. I hadn't seen that kind of gentleness in a long time. In recent months, he was always distracted at home, never letting his phone leave his hand, getting up in the middle of the night to reply to messages. Whenever I asked what he was busy with, he always said work. So this was the work. There was a knock on the door. It was my assistant, Lisa. MS. Sarah, the afternoon meeting needs to be pushed back half an hour. Something came up with Mr. Anderson. What happened? It seems Assistant Emily isn't feeling well, and Mr. Anderson is taking her to the hospital. I nodded. Understood. After Lisa left, I turned on my computer and pulled up the company's financial system. As the majority shareholder, I had the right to view all financial records. Sure enough, in the past 3 months, there were several large expenditures approved by Mark. One of them was exactly $4.5 million, coinciding perfectly with the purchase of the Emerald Bay Villa. So, the house was bought with the company's money. I continued to investigate and found some smaller expenditures that added up to exactly $56,000, matching the spending records Jack had found. Mark used company money to buy a house and gifts for Emily, then told me cash flow was tight and asked me to pour money into the company. This was my future husband. I turned off the computer, picked up my bag, and prepared to leave. Passing by Mark's office, I saw it was empty. Remembering what Lisa said, he should be at the hospital with Emily now. Was Emily really sick? Or was it another excuse? I thought of the intimacy in those photos, the cozy decorations in that house, those expensive gifts. It turned out that while I was unaware, they were already living like a couple. So what was I? An ATM? Or a cover? My phone beeped. It was a WeChat message from Mark. Sarah, I might be back late today. Emily has food poisoning. I'm at the hospital with her. Food poisoning. I sneered and replied, okay, take good care of her. After sending the message, I drove away from the company. On the way, I thought about a lot of things. 3 years ago, when we started the business, Mark said, "Sarah, let's work hard together and build a business empire that belongs to us." At that time, his eyes were full of light, dreams, and love for me. Now, his eyes only held Emily, and I had become the tool for him to achieve his dreams. Back home, I sat on the sofa and looked through the photos again. Each photo was like a knife stabbing into my heart. The most painful part wasn't the betrayal itself, but that I had been kept in the dark, foolishly preparing for a wedding. Our wedding was scheduled for next month. The venue was booked. The dress was custom made, and the invitations had been sent out. Everyone knew that Mark Anderson was going to marry Sarah Miller, including Emily. She knew he had a fiancé, yet she chose to be with him. She accepted his house and gifts, living a lover's life with him in that home. And Mark, while planning a wedding with me, kept her as a mistress in a golden cage. What did he plan to do after the wedding? Continue like this, or find a suitable time to ask for a divorce and then be with her openly? The more I thought, the angrier I got, and the clearer my mind became. Such a man was not worth wasting my feelings on. This marriage was over before it even began. Mark returned at 11 o'clock at night. I didn't ask him about Emily's condition, and he didn't volunteer the information. We washed up separately and went to bed as if nothing had happened. But I knew something had changed. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Mark was still asleep. I went downstairs quietly and made myself a cup of coffee. Sitting in the living room, I reorganized my thoughts. I had two choices now. First, confrontation, question him and see what he chooses. Second, pretend not to know for now and make my own preparations first. I chose the second, because I knew Mark. If I confronted him now, he would find a way to explain, promise to change, and coax me into forgiving him. And then he would hide it more carefully, and I would get nothing. I didn't need his explanations or promises. I needed leverage. I took out my phone and sent a message to my lawyer friend. "Jessica. Jess, are you free? I want to consult on some legal issues." Jessica replied quickly, "Of course. When is convenient?" "This afternoon. The usual place." "Okay." Then I called the finance director. "Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown. Let's have a meeting this afternoon. I want a detailed understanding of the company's financial status." "Okay, Ms. Sarah. I'll prepare the documents." After making these arrangements, I felt a bit more grounded. When Mark got up, I was in the kitchen preparing breakfast. "Sarah, you're up early today." He hugged me from behind. Before, such a hug would make my heart race. Now, I only felt disgusted. Couldn't sleep. So I got up. I broke free from his embrace. "How was Emily yesterday?" "Nothing serious. The doctor said she just needs to rest for 2 days." "That's good," I said indifferently. "Breakfast is ready. Let's eat." During breakfast, Mark brought up the wedding. "Sarah, the wedding planner said we need to finalize the schedule next week. Do you have time?" "Yes." I continued eating my toast. "By the way, what kind of wedding do you think we should have?" "The best." "Of course. I want to give you a perfect wedding." He looked at me with sincere eyes. "The best. Then why did you spend the money on another woman?" "A perfect wedding. How could marrying a cheater be perfect?" "I'll listen to you then." I smiled. That afternoon, I went to see Jessica first. Jessica was my college classmate and now a partner at a well-known law firm, specializing in marital and family disputes. "Sarah, you don't look well. Did something happen?" Jessica asked as soon as we met. I showed her the information Jack had investigated. After reading it, Jessica's face darkened too. "This Mark is too much," she said indignantly. "If he's like this before you're married, what will happen after? So I want to consult. If we break up, how are the assets divided?" Jessica took out a pen and paper and began to analyze. "First, you are not married, so the concept of joint marital property doesn't apply. But you have a jointly invested company, which needs to be divided according to shareholding ratios. You hold 60 of the shares. If the company is valued at 300 million, you should get 180 million. However, if it can be proven that Mark used company funds for personal squandering, such as buying a house and gifts for a third party, you can demand compensation from him. Additionally, regarding the 5 million you personally invested in the company, If there was an agreement at the time, you can also demand its return. I nodded. So, what do I need to prepare? Evidence. The more, the better. Financial records. Transfer records. Spending records. Photos. Recordings, get whatever you can. Also, you need to protect your personal assets. If he finds out you know, he might transfer assets. I listened very carefully, committing every point to memory. Sarah, have you really decided to break up? Jessica asked me. Yes. I nodded firmly. Such a man is not worth entrusting my life to. Then I support you. Scumbags like this should pay the price. Leaving the law firm, I went straight back to the company for the financial meeting. Mr. Brown, the finance director, had prepared all the materials. Ms. Sarah, these are the financial reports for the past year. I carefully looked through every expenditure, marking the suspicious ones. Mr. Brown, this expenditure of $4.5 million, what project is it for? Mr. Brown looked at the record. It was approved by Mr. Anderson. He said it was for purchasing investment property. Is there a relevant investment analysis report? It seems not. Mr. Brown looked awkward. Mr. Anderson said it was a project he was personally responsible for. A personally responsible project using company money. What about these smaller expenses? I pointed to expenditures of several $1,000s each. They were all signed by Mr. Anderson. Some are entertainment fees. Some are office supplies. Some are employee benefits. I sneered. Buying bags and jewelry for Emily, which category did that fall under? Mr. Brown. Starting tomorrow, all expenditures over $10,000 must be approved by me. Okay, Ms. Sarah. Also, reorganize a detailed list of all expenditures from the past year for me. I want to audit them in detail. No problem. After the meeting ended, I sat in my office looking at the night view outside the window. Mark's office was right across from mine. Through the glass, I could see he was still working overtime. What was he busy with? Was he really working? Or chatting with Emily? I remembered his gentle smile in those photos. The gifts he bought for Emily. That multi-million-dollar house. I used to think we were the most important people to each other. Now I realized I was just a tool he used to make money. And Emily was the one he truly wanted to cherish. Since that's the case, let them have each other. But I wouldn't let them achieve happiness easily. The price of betrayal must be paid. The next morning, I received an unexpected phone call. Is this Ms. Sarah Miller? This is Emily. Emily calling me proactively. Hello. Is something the matter? I try to keep my voice calm. Ms. Sarah, I want to meet with you. There are some things I want to tell you. Her voice sounded nervous. What things? About Mr. Anderson and me. Is she going to confess voluntarily? Okay. When? How about noon today? At the coffee shop opposite the company. Fine. Hanging up the phone, I was curious. Why would Emily seek me out? Did Mark send her? Or was it her own idea? At noon, I arrived at the coffee shop on time. Emily was already waiting for me. She looked haggard, her eyes slightly red and swollen, as if she had been crying. Ms. Sarah, thank you for agreeing to see me. She stood up, looking uneasy. I sat down and ordered a coffee. Speak. What is it? Emily bit her lip. Ms. Sarah, I know you might have discovered some things. What things? I continued to feign ignorance. Mr. Anderson and I. She paused. We do have an improper relationship. She admitted it. Oh. I raised an eyebrow at her. What kind of improper relationship? We are together. She lowered her head. I know it's wrong, but I couldn't control myself. And Mark, couldn't he control himself either? Emily looked up at me with tears in her eyes. Ms. Sarah, don't blame him. It's all my fault. I seduced him. Seduced? How did you seduce him? I asked with interest. Emily blushed. I often found excuses to be alone with him. Deliberately worked late so he would take me home. And often acted coquettishly to get him to buy things for me. And then one night, I pretended to be drunk. He took me home. And I kissed him. Did he push you away? Emily shook her head. No. He kissed me back. After that, we were together. Her voice grew quieter. Ms. Sarah, I really love him. I know this is unfair to you, but I really can't give him up. Really love him. Was that house in Emerald Bay also because of love? I asked directly. Emily looked at me in surprise. You know everything. I know more than that. I took out my phone and showed her the photos Jack took. How do you explain these? Seeing the photos, Emily's face turned pale instantly. MS. Sarah. And these. I showed her the spending list as well. Seeing those numbers, Emily's tears fell. MS. Sarah. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to you. She started crying. I know I did wrong, but I really love him. You love him. So you can destroy someone else's relationship. No. MS. Sarah. Listen to me. Emily explained hurriedly. Mr. Anderson said your feelings for each other had faded, that you were together only because of the company. These words made me pause. He said that. Emily nodded. He said you act more like business partners now than lovers. He said he wants true love, not a union of interests. So that was it. In Mark's version, our relationship had ended long ago, and I was just his business partner. So his cheating wasn't betrayal, but a pursuit of true love. And Emily was the angel saving him. So, you are true love now, and I am the villain blocking your happiness. I sneered. No, MS. Sarah. I haven't thought that way. Emily waved her hands frantically. I just love him too much. Then why did you find me today? Do you want me to step aside for you? Emily looked at me with expectation and fear in her eyes. MS. Sarah. If possible, I hope you can let go. Her voice trembled. I will treat him well. I will make him happy. Let go. You think I should let go and watch you live happily together? MS. Sarah. I know this request is excessive, but what? I interrupted her. But, because you love him, I should fulfill your wishes. Emily lowered her head, afraid to look at me. I stood up. Emily, do you know, every word you just said makes me feel sick. Using the banner of love to act as a mistress. And asking me to step acidito, you think that's reasonable? You said Mark told you our feelings had faded. Have you ever thought about why he didn't break up with me directly, but chose to cheat instead? Emily looked up, confusion in her eyes. Because he can't bear to part with my money. I said coldly. Without me, he is nothing. No, MS. Sarah. Mr. Anderson isn't that kind of person. Emily rushed to defend Mark. Is that so? I laughed. Then why did he use company money to buy you a house? Why use company money to buy you gifts? Why plan a wedding with me while cohabiting with you? Emily was speechless. Emily, you are too naive. I picked up my bag to leave. You think you've found love, but actually, you're just a plaything. When he gets tired of you, or finds someone younger and prettier, do you think he'll still want you? With that, I left the coffee shop without looking back. Walking on the street, I thought about Emily's words. She said Mark told her our feelings had faded, that we were together only because of the company. It turned out that in his heart, I was already a dispensable existence. Then why should I continue this relationship? Back at the company, I went straight to Mark's office. He was reading documents. Seeing me enter, he smiled and asked, Sarah, did you have lunch? I ate. I sat opposite him. Mark, I want to ask you a question. What question? How do you feel about our relationship? Mark paused. Why ask this suddenly? Just want to hear your thoughts. He put down the document and looked at me seriously. Sarah, we've known each other for so many years. Of course. Our relationship is good. We're getting married soon. I'm looking forward to our future. Is that so? I smiled. Have you ever thought that we are more like business partners now than lovers? Mark's face changed. Why would you think that? Because that's what you think, isn't it? I looked straight into his eyes. You told others that our feelings have faded, that we are together only because of the company. Who told you that? His voice was urgent. Does it matter? What matters is that you really think so. Mark was silent for a moment. Sarah, we don't have the passion we used to. But that doesn't mean I don't love you. Then what do you love about me? I continued to ask. He thought for a moment. I love your intelligence, your capability, my money. I finished for him. Sarah, how can you say that? I'm not that kind of person. He was somewhat angry. Aren't you? Then explain this. I slammed the purchase agreement onto his desk. Seeing the contract, Mark's face changed completely. And these. I placed the spending list on the table as well. Seeing those detailed records, Mark knew he was exposed. Sarah, listen to my explanation. Explain what? Explain why you used company money to buy a house for your mistress. Explain why you used company money to buy her gifts. Explain why you lived with her while planning a wedding with me. Mark opened his mouth but ultimately said nothing. Emily found me today. I continued. She told me you two are in love and hopes I will step aside. What? She found you. Mark stood up in surprise. Why? Shouldn't she find me? Or did you plan it beforehand? Sending her to test my attitude? No, Sarah. I didn't tell her to find you. Mark explained hurriedly. This has nothing to do with her. It's all my fault. Nothing to do with her. I sneered. Mark, are you still trying to exonerate her even now? Sarah, I admit I did wrong. But please don't make things hard for Emily. She is innocent. Innocent. Mark, do you know? Every word you say now provides a reason for our breakup. Hearing the word breakup, Mark's face changed drastically. Sarah, let's not break up. Okay. I can cut ties with Emily. We can start over. Start over. I stood up. Mark, do you think that's possible? Of course it's possible. Sarah, we have so many years of feelings. We are about to get married. We can't give up everything just because of one mistake. One mistake. I pointed to the evidence on the table. These are all one mistake. Yes, they are all my mistakes. I can correct them. He walked over, trying to take my hand, but I dodged. Mark, do you know what's most laughable? What? You cheated. Spent tens of millions of our company's money keeping a mistress. And now you want me to forgive you and marry you. Sarah, you what? You think I can't live without you? Or do you think you are that important? Mark was rendered speechless by my words. Let me tell you, Mark, in this world, anyone can betray me, but I will never betray myself. I won't marry a man who cheats, let alone spend my life with a man who uses my money to keep a mistress. With that, I turned to leave. Sarah, wait. Mark called out to me. If you insist on breaking up, what about the company? I looked back at him and smiled. Mark, you really are worried about the company. No, I'm worried about our future. We have no future, I said coldly. As for the company, well, distribute according to equity. Sarah, we founded the company together. You can't. I can't what? Can't take back what belongs to me. I interrupted him. Mark, don't forget. I invested $5 million and own 60. Logically, control of the company should be in my hands. All these years, I let you be the general manager and run the company because I trusted you and loved you. But now, you have betrayed me and betrayed the company. Mark's face was pale. Sarah, what do you want? What I want is simple. I smiled. I want you to pay the price. What price? The price for embezzling company funds. And the price for betraying our love. With that, I left his office. Walking down the corridor, I could feel everyone's eyes on me. Our conversation just now wasn't quiet. Presumably, many people heard it, but it didn't matter. Soon everyone would know anyway. Back in my office, I called Jessica. Jess, we can start. Okay. I'll prepare the lawsuit immediately. Hanging up the phone, I looked at the sky outside the window. The weather was fine, sunny and bright, just like my mood now, full of hope. That afternoon, Mark received the lawyer's letter. The lawsuit, misappropriation of company funds, demanding compensation for losses and assuming corresponding legal responsibility. At the same time, I sent an email to all company employees explaining the situation and announcing the suspension of Mark's position as general manager. As soon as the news came out, the whole company exploded. No one expected that the couple who usually seemed so loving would end up in court. Even fewer expected that the gentle and refined Mr. Anderson would embezzle company funds. Emily submitted her resignation letter that afternoon and didn't come to work the next day. Mark sought me out several times wanting to settle, but I refused. Sarah, do we really have to go this far? He blocked me at my office door. What do you mean this far? I stopped and looked at him. Mark, you were the one who betrayed first, not me. I know I was wrong, but we can solve this privately. Why bring it to court? Because I want everyone to know the cost of betrayal. Sarah, what good does this do you? The company's reputation will be damaged. The stock price will drop, and you will be the one hurt in the end. I laughed. Mark, do you think I care about that? Money can be earned again. Reputation can be rebuilt. But once dignity is lost, it can never be recovered. I won't let anyone trample on my dignity, including you. Mark looked at me with shock and fear in his eyes. He probably realized for the first time that I was no longer the little woman he could deceive at will. Sarah, if you insist on doing this, I won't just sit and wait for death. Oh, what do you plan to do? I asked with interest. We built the company together. I have a say too. I can unite with other shareholders to re-elect the board. You can try. I smiled. But let me remind you, the other shareholders combined only hold 40 of the shares, while I alone hold 60. If your math is bad, I can teach you how to calculate. Mark's face grew even uglier. Besides, you are now a defendant suspected of embezzling company funds. Do you think other shareholders will support someone suspected of financial crimes? You. Mark was too angry to speak. What about me? I raised my eyebrows at him. Mark, this is the price of the true love you wanted. You lost the company and your future for an Emily. Was it worth it? Mark was silent for a long time, finally saying, Sarah, can't we really settle? Of course we can. I nodded readily. Hope flashed in Mark's eyes. As long as you can do 3 things. I continued. What things? First, return all the misappropriated funds, including interest. Second, transfer all your shares to me at half the market price. Third, apologize publicly and admit your mistakes. Hearing these conditions, Mark's face turned completely black. Sarah, you want me to have nothing? You have nothing right now, I said coldly. Without me, you are nothing. You, me what? I interrupted him. Mark, don't forget, you chose to betray first. Isn't it normal to pay the price now? If you don't accept these conditions, we'll meet in court. At that time, you will not only have to pay back the money but also bear criminal responsibility. With that, I left without looking back. That night, I received a call from an unknown number at home. Hello, MS. Sarah. It's me, Emily. I was surprised. How did you get my private number? Mr. Anderson gave it to me. Her voice was very small. MS. Sarah. I want to see you. Haven't we met already? MS. Sarah. I have important things to tell you. What things? About Mr. Anderson. It's not convenient to say over the phone. I thought for a moment. All right. Tomorrow afternoon at 2. The usual place. Hanging up. I was curious. What did Emily want to say now? To plead for Mark? Or did she have other plans? The next afternoon, I arrived at the coffee shop on time. Emily was already waiting for me. She looked even more haggard than last time. MS. Sarah. Thank you for agreeing to see me. She stood up and bowed. Speak. What is it? I sat down, getting straight to the point. Emily bit her lip. MS. Sarah. I want to tell you something about Mr. Anderson. Go on. Actually, Mr. Anderson didn't buy that house for me voluntarily. This made me pause. What do you mean? I threatened him to buy it. Emily lowered her head. I took some photos and videos of us together and threatened that if he didn't buy me a house, I would send them to you. This twist was completely beyond my expectations. You blackmailed him. Emily nodded. I know it was despicable, but I loved him too much. I wanted a home that belonged to us. I wanted security. And those gifts. I demanded those too. Her voice got smaller. I told him if he really loved me, he should buy them for me. So, you were extorting him. I just wanted him to treat me better. Emily began to cry. I know I was wrong, but I really loved him too much. I looked at her, feeling complicated. On one hand, my anger toward Mark hadn't diminished. Cheating is cheating, whether active or passive. On the other hand, I began to understand why Mark said it was all his fault and asked me not to make things hard for Emily. It turned out he really wanted to protect her. Emily, what is your purpose in telling me this today? I hope you can forgive Mr. Anderson. She looked up at me, eyes full of pleading. It's all my fault. Blame me if you have to. Forgive him. I sneered. Emily, do you think just because you take the blame, he is innocent? But what? I interrupted her. He is an adult with his own judgment. Even if you threatened him, he could have chosen to refuse, chosen to tell me the truth. But he didn't. He chose to compromise with you, chose to use company money to satisfy your demands. What does that show? It shows that in his heart, I wasn't important at all. Emily opened her mouth to argue, but ultimately said nothing. Emily, thank you for telling me the truth. I stood up. But this changes nothing. MS. Sarah. Mark made his choice. And now it's my turn to make mine. And my choice is to let him face the consequences he deserves. With that, I left the coffee shop. A week later, the court heard the case. This matter had caused a sensation in the business world, and many media outlets were paying attention. On the day of the trial, many reporters gathered outside the court, wearing a black business suit. I walked into the courtroom accompanied by Jessica. Mark and his lawyer had already arrived. He looked haggard, with guilt and reluctance in his eyes. Emily did not appear. I heard she had left the city. After the trial began, Jessica presented the evidence one by one. Financial records showed that Mark had indeed embezzled company funds totaling $38.56 million. Of this, $32 million was used to purchase real estate, and $6.56 million was used for personal consumption. Faced with this evidence, Mark's lawyer couldn't refute it and could only argue for a lighter sentence. Your Honor, my client admits to using company funds, but he had no malicious intent to possess. He was forced by special circumstances. Special circumstances. Jessica immediately rebutted. Your Honor, the special circumstances mentioned by the defendant's lawyer are actually the result of the defendant cheating and being blackmailed by a third party. This cannot be a reason for him to embezzle company funds. Instead, it proves his moral character is flawed. Furthermore, as the general manager of the company, the defendant should have been responsible for company property. His actions have seriously violated relevant regulations of corporate law and criminal law. After several hours of trial, the judge announced an adjournment and would pronounce the sentence at a later date. Walking out of the courtroom, Mark chased after me. Sarah, let's talk. I stopped and looked at him. What is there to talk about? I accept your conditions. His voice was low. I will transfer all shares to you and apologize publicly. It's too late to say this now, I said coldly. Why? He was anxious. Didn't you say as long as I agreed to these conditions, we would settle? That was a week ago. I looked at him. Now the matter is in court. It's not something I alone can decide. Sarah, please. I really know I was wrong. Mark bowed his head in front of me for the first time. I can give you everything. Just asking you to forgive me once. Seeing his humble appearance, I didn't feel the pleasure I had imagined. Only endless fatigue and disappointment. Mark, do you know, if you had confessed from the beginning, if you chose to face me honestly, maybe there was a possibility for us to salvage things. But you didn't. You chose deception. Chose betrayal. Now you beg for my forgiveness. Not because you truly regret it, but because you're afraid of losing everything. Such an apology is meaningless. Mark's face grew paler. Sarah, we are over. Mark, I interrupted him. From the moment you first betrayed me, we were over. With that, I left without looking back. 3 days later, the court announced the verdict. Mark was sentenced to 3 years in prison with a 5-year probation for embezzlement of funds, and ordered to compensate the company for losses of $38.56 million plus corresponding interest. At the same time, the court froze all assets under his name, including his shares in the company. This meant Mark lost not only his freedom, but all his property. After the verdict, I didn't feel any excitement, just a relief as if a heavy burden had been lifted. That night, alone at home, I opened a bottle of red wine. Mark brought this back from France last year, saying we would open it when we got married. Now, I drank it all by myself. After drinking, I took out my phone and deleted all photos related to Mark. 3 years of feelings ended just like that. Although the ending wasn't what I wanted, at least I got justice for myself. The next day, I held a company-wide meeting. Colleagues, I believe everyone knows what happened recently. I stood at the front of the conference room, looking at the employees. Starting today, I will officially serve as general manager, fully responsible for the company's operations and management. Regarding the former general manager, I hope everyone can take this as a warning to operate with integrity and work diligently. The company will continue to move forward. Our goals will not change, and our ideals will not be shattered. Applause erupted from the audience. After the meeting, Finance Director Mr. Brown found me. MS. Sarah, I have something to report to you. What is it? After Mr. Anderson's assets were frozen, we did an inventory and found he has some hidden assets. What assets? Overseas investments. About $5 million. I frowned. When were these assets transferred? According to records, it was after you sued him. That means, even after I sued Mark, he was still transferring assets. Mr. Brown, organize these documents and give them to my lawyer. Okay, MS. Sarah. It seems Mark was calculating until the very end, begging me for a settlement while secretly transferring assets. Such a man is truly unworthy of any sympathy. A month later, the company gradually returned to normal operations. Without Mark, the company's efficiency actually improved. I reorganized the management team, promoted some capable employees, and the company atmosphere became more harmonious. That afternoon, Assistant Lisa knocked and entered. MS. Sarah. A guest wants to see you. Who? It's Mark's mother. Mark's mother. What is she doing here? Let her in. Mark's mother walked into the office, looking much older. Since Mark's incident, she had been running around for her son, trying to reduce his sentence. Sarah. I want to talk to you. She sat opposite me, exhaustion in her eyes. Go ahead. Sarah. Mark did wrong, but he has already been punished. Can you? She paused. Can you drop the pursuit of those overseas assets? So it was about this. Ma'am, that money belongs to the company, not Mark's private property. I know, but that money is Mark's last resort. Tears were in her eyes. Sarah, you had 3 years of feelings after all. Just have pity on me and leave Mark away to live. Looking at her aged face, I felt some reluctance in my heart, but principles are principles. Ma'am, I understand your concern for your son, but I cannot compromise on this matter. Why? She got a bit agitated. Sarah, you already have full control of the company and have made Mark lose everything. Do you have to drive him to extinction? Drive him to extinction. Ma'am, I never thought of driving anyone to extinction. I said calmly. I'm just taking back what belongs to me. But, ma'am, if Mark had chosen to confess and be honest with me back then, things wouldn't have reached this stage today. It was his choices that led to today's result, not me. She was silent for a while. Sarah, I beg you, for the sake of us almost being family. Almost family. I smiled bitterly. Ma'am, we won't be family. Why? There was unwillingness in her eyes. Sarah, you can start over. Mark really knows he was wrong. Ma'am, some mistakes cannot be forgiven. I looked at her. If the person your son cheated with was your daughter, would you still say such things? She was stunned by my words. Sarah, you. Me what? I stood up. Ma'am, I understand your protection of your son, but please understand my feelings too. I am not a saint. I have no obligation to forgive the person who hurt me, nor will I give up my principles for so-called feelings. She looked at me with disappointment and anger. Sarah, you've changed. Yes, I've changed. I nodded. I learned to protect myself and live for myself. This isn't becoming bad. This is growing up. She stood up. Sarah, I hope you won't regret today's decision. I won't regret it, I said with certainty. After sending Mark's mother away, I sat in the office looking at the night view. The city lights were still brilliant. Life goes on. I remembered 3 years ago, the lofty ambitions Mark and I had when we started the business. Back then, we thought we could walk through life together. Now I understand that some people are destined to be just passers-by in your life. They come, teach you something, and then leave. And you have to learn to move forward alone. Back home at night, I received a call from Jessica. Sarah, news from the court. Mark's overseas assets have been frozen and will be returned shortly. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. This is what you deserve. Jessica paused. By the way, I need to tell you something. What? Mark filed an appeal. I was surprised. Appeal? Yes. His lawyer thinks the sentence is too heavy and wants to reduce the penalty. Will it have an impact? Not much impact. The evidence is solid. The chance of a successful appeal is small. Jessica comforted me. You don't need to worry. Hanging up, I thought of Mark's mother's words. It seems they are still unwilling to give up. But none of this matters anymore. What matters is that I have found myself again. 2 months later, the appeal was rejected. Mark's sentence was upheld, and the overseas assets were all recovered. At this point, the dispute ended completely. Under my management, the company's performance flourished, and employees were full of confidence in the future. I also rediscovered the joy of work. That morning, While I was processing documents in the office, Assistant Lisa walked in. MS. Sarah. A gentleman wants to see you. Who? He says his name is David Johnson. From an investment company. David Johnson. The name sounded familiar. Let him in. Ideally. A man in his 30s walked in. He wore a well-tailored suit. Handsome and refined. MS. Sarah. Hello. I'm David Johnson. He extended his hand. I shook his hand. Mr. Johnson. Please sit. Thank you. He sat opposite. MS. Sarah. I came today to discuss a partnership project with you. What project? Our company is preparing a new investment fund specifically for technological innovation enterprises. Your company has strong capabilities in this field, and we hope to cooperate. I listened carefully to his introduction. It was indeed a good opportunity. Mr. Johnson, your proposal is attractive, but I need some time to consider. Of course. Cooperation requires careful consideration. He smiled. However, I hope we can communicate further, if convenient. I'd like to treat you to dinner tonight so we can chat in detail. I hesitated a moment. Okay. That evening, we met at a high-end restaurant. David had booked a private room. The environment was elegant. MS. Sarah, what cuisine do you like? He asked gentlemanly. Anything is fine. I'm not picky. He ordered several dishes, all to my taste. During the meal, we talked a lot about industry topics. I found David to be very insightful, with an accurate grasp of the market. MS. Sarah, I admire your ability. He raised his glass. It's not easy for a woman to manage a company so well. Thank you. I clinked glasses with him, especially after experiencing so much. To maintain such a state is even harder. I froze. You know about my situation. Business world matters are hard to keep secret. He smiled. However, I think you did the right thing. Really? Of course. Faced with betrayal, one should fight back resolutely. Forgiveness is sometimes not a virtue, but irresponsibility toward oneself. His words surprised me. Most people thought I was too cruel and unfeeling. Few supported my approach. Mr. Johnson, your view is unique, because I experienced something similar. His expression darkened slightly. My ex-wife also cheated. I chose to forgive at the time, but she got worse, and we divorced in the end. Since then, I understood a truth. Forgiveness of a betrayer is betrayal of oneself. I looked at him, feeling a resonance in my heart. So, when I heard about your story, I admired your courage. He continued. Not everyone has the courage to fight for themselves. The dinner was pleasant. We talked a lot, not just about work, but about life, ideals, and past experiences. I found David to be an interesting person with depth. MS. Sarah, I really enjoyed talking tonight. After the meal, he walked me to the parking lot. I hope we can work together happily. I hope so too. I extended my hand. Mr. Johnson, thank you for today. I should be thanking you. He held my hand. MS. Sarah, if you don't mind, we can be friends. Of course. Driving home, I thought about David's words. He said I had the courage to fight for myself. Indeed, for the past few months, I had been fighting for myself, for dignity, for principles, and for the future. Although the process was painful, the result was worth it. I rediscovered myself and found a new direction in life. Most importantly, I learned to love myself. Before loving others, one must learn to love oneself first. This was the most precious lesson this experience taught me. 3 months later, my company formally established a partnership with David's company. The new investment fund operated successfully, and several projects we invested in had good returns. In the process of cooperation, David and I became good friends. He was a reliable partner and a thoughtful friend. One afternoon, while discussing a new project, he suddenly asked me, Sarah, have you thought about starting a new relationship? I paused. Why ask that? Because I feel you have completely moved on. He looked at me. You are in a good state now. You should consider your own happiness. I'm fine as I am. I smiled. Fulfilling work. Regular life, what's not to be satisfied about? But people can't just have work. He said seriously. You are still young and have the right to pursue love. What about you? I asked him back. You should start over too. I'm waiting for the right person. He looked into my eyes. Or rather, I'm waiting for someone to give me a chance. His words stirred my heart. David, You, Sarah. I know it might not be appropriate to say this now, but I must tell you. He interrupted me. Over these months, I've become more certain that you are the person I've been waiting for. I looked at him, feeling complicated. David, you don't have to give me an answer now, he said gently. I just want you to know that there is someone silently caring for you and supporting you. If one day you are willing to give me a chance, I will cherish it. If you are unwilling, we are still friends. Nothing will change. I was moved by his sincerity. David, thank you. No need to thank me. It's from the heart. That night, alone at home, I thought a lot. David was a good man, successful, principled, responsible. Most importantly, he understood me, supported me, and respected me. Compared to Mark, they were completely different people. Mark valued my money and ability, while David appreciated me as a person. But was I really ready to start a new relationship? It would be a lie to say I wasn't nervous. After experiencing betrayal, it's hard to fully trust someone again. But if I rejected all possibilities out of fear of getting hurt, I would never find true happiness. A week later, I sent David a message. If the invitation is still valid, I'm willing to try. He replied quickly. Of course it's valid. And valid forever. 6 months later, David and I officially started dating. He was a considerate boyfriend, never interfering excessively in my work and life, but always showing up when I needed him. We traveled together, worked together, and planned the future together. This feeling was completely different from before. With Mark, I was always giving, accommodating, and enduring. With David, I felt equality, respect, and mutual support. This was true love. A year later, we got engaged. At the engagement party, I saw many old friends. Everyone was happy for me and thought David was a great choice. During the toast, I remembered myself a year ago. At that time, I had just experienced the biggest betrayal of my life. My mood at rock bottom. I thought I would never believe in love again. But life told me that true love exists. It is not possession, control, or utilization, but understanding, respect, and support. Sarah, what are you thinking? David walked over and gently held my waist. I'm thinking, it's so good to have met you. I leaned on his shoulder. I also think it's so good to have met you. He kissed my forehead lightly. We will be very happy. I believe it. Raising my glass, I said to the guests below, thank you all for coming to our engagement party today. I want to say, life's road will encounter many bumps, but as long as you insist on being yourself and sticking to your principles, you will eventually meet the right person. May everyone find true happiness. Thunderous applause erupted from the audience. David held my hand, fingers interlaced.